I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share it with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
What's good? It's your boy JayThat'sMe. We're going to get into NXT from February the 3rd, 2026. A very good show. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. We finally have a new NXT champion crowned in Hendry. We'll talk about that. Right decision. And we got a new interim GM. So I do like that. This show was way stronger than last week's show. Last week's show was filler, but a good filler. This show set up a lot of things and a lot of future things, which I do like. I still am kind of worried about NXT not really doing any pay-per-views. I thought they were going to do something for Vengeance Day, which usually falls on Valentine's Day, but they're not doing that. So I don't know what's going on. I'm guessing the Peacock deal may have expired early. I mean, we just started February. We're only, 2 days in. So 3 days in now, but I don't know. I don't really know what their plan is for NXT pay-per-views because their pay-per-views are very successful, and I don't know why they would stop pay-per-views. So I don't know. Man, that sucks though. But it is what it is. Hopefully they'll find something. I wish that when Raw was on Netflix, when they did the Netflix deal, I wish that would have included NXT. I mean, I get it at that time. They were still doing stuff with NBC Universal, and I get it. But still, they should have integrated NXT pay-per-views on Netflix. I think that would have been great. I don't know. I'm guessing for now, they'll probably still continue to just do big shows for pay-per-views on television. So, like Great American Bash and stuff like that. So, maybe they'll do that on TV, which is fine. I mean, that'll pop a good rating, but NXT really has been putting on some very good pay-per-views over the last couple of years. So, hopefully, they'll figure things out on that end. All right, let's go ahead and get into the review. So, we kicked the show off with Shawn Michaels and Mr. Stone, Robert Stone, a.k.a. Robbie E. So, basically, Shawn Michaels was having a quick conversation with Robert Stone because Ava is no longer there. So Ava put out a post on, I believe it was Instagram or X. I think it was Instagram, where she thanked WWE. She basically is gone from the company. She opted not to re-sign. She's done. Ava was in WWE for a good, I want to say, basically 4 years, because she was in NXT 2.0. So she was there in that era. So she was there 4 years. She tried wrestling. She didn't do well at the time. She was with the Schism. And that didn't work out at all. Then they put her in the GM role, which she was horrible at, and now she's gone, which makes perfect sense. I think she just did it just to try it out, and her heart wasn't in it, I would say. And that's fine. I could see her probably just doing something in Hollywood, and that's kind of basically it. I don't see her doing anything else. She's not going to go to AEW or anything like that or whatever. Why would she go there? So Ava just was not the right person for the GM role. We all know why she got it. Nepotism, being Rock's daughter and everything else. So that's fine. But, her leaving makes perfect sense. And I figured she wasn't going to stay anyway. Her heart was never really in it. She didn't really care. She really brought the show down. And I think Robbie E is going to really be a good GM. So Mr. Stone is the new GM of NXT, interim, which I don't know why he'd be interim. Maybe they'll probably end up adding William Regal in probably after a few months, maybe. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Moving on from that, this leads us into the first match of the night, which was a triple threat match for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Izzy Dame defeats Thea Hale and Lola Vice. She retains the Women's North American Championship. This match was pretty fun. Even though I'm not a fan of triple threat matches, this match was still pretty fun. Pretty decent spots in the match as well. So, towards the end of the match, Lola Vice was in control. Then, her and Thea Hale, they were on the outside fighting. Then, Kelani Jordan came in and she attacked Lola Vice. She got a ladder, basically broke her hand, which was great. Lola sold it very, very well. She smashed the shit out of her hand with the ladder, which was insane. So, Izzy Dame retained via the Sky High Powerbomb. I forgot what she calls that finish. What does she call that finish? Is it the Dame Bomb or something? I don't know what it is. I forgot what it is. It doesn't matter. Either way, Izzy Dame retains. So, that makes perfect sense. I like this because it still continues the feud between Kelani Jordan and Lola Vice. It's not over. I do think that hopefully this year sometime Lola Vice does get a championship. She really needs to be, I would say, higher on the card after she ends her feud with Kelani Jordan. And again, I don't know what they're fighting over, but it still should be a good feud, really. Seems like, well, we all know Lola is a legit MMA fighter and Kelani Jordan is a gymnast, but we need more than that. But, I mean, it's a fun little mini feud, and we'll see where it goes and how it develops over time. Moving on, this leads us into a backstage segment. So they get into Lexis King and Stacks, they get into a verbal confrontation with Chase U. So they want to recruit Uriah Connors, who is Brogan Finley, the little brother of David Finley. So that's fine there. All right, moving on from that, we finally hear from Tony D'Angelo. So Tony D says it's been 7 months since he had the chance to speak to the NXT fans. He has some things to get off his chest. He says the fans know his history in NXT, and then he says he's a happy man. Then he says he was a happy man a year ago, surrounded by family and friends. He says growing up in Chicago, you have to stand on your own 2 feet, especially when you're involved in the stuff that he is. Tony D'Angelo says that he needed to remember that he was a national champion and a Division I athlete. Then says there's a reason why he came back to NXT, by being calculated and dropping bodies left and right. He says he came back for 2 reasons. Reason 1, punishing Dark State, taking everything from them. For taking everything from him, by taking everything from them. And another secret reason he'll reveal once he's done with Dark State. Okay, so I do like that. It makes sense, but we should have gotten this explanation when he did this to Javon Evans back at Deadline. We should have gotten it then. The week after Deadline, we should have gotten this. But better late than never. And I'm guessing this is something I can get used to. His theme song is pretty cool, too. I like it. So I'm interested in seeing how this darker character of Tony D'Angelo can work. And I think it can work. It seems like he's going to probably be more of like a anti-hero type of character, which is fine. He's not going to be the fun-loving babyface. Well, actually, my bad. No, Tony D'Angelo is a mob boss. So he's not going to be a mob boss guy anymore, right? He can't be. Stacks is off doing his own thing. The other guys he was with, I think they're on Evolve. Luca Cristofano, or did he get released? I can't remember. I think Luca, maybe he got released, if I'm not mistaken. I think he got released. Because it's been a minute since we've seen Luca. So, there's that. Moving on, this leads us into Elio LaFleur defeating Charlie Dempsey. He advances in the speed tournament. So, he advances. That's fine. So, it is what it is. Moving on, this leads us into the Elegance brand defeating Sol Ruca and Zaria to retain the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships. This match was okay. Zaria and Sol Ruca, they got into a little spat earlier on in the show. Zaria said she got to do this for herself and everything, which is fine. That actually makes sense. It seems like they probably are going to turn Zaria heel. It seems like that's the best option that they have, because they've spent too much time misusing Zaria and miscasting her, that it's not a good look for her, right? So I don't understand why they are doing the slow turn with Zaria. Like, she should have been turned on Sol Ruca like months ago. But yet again, it's better late than never. So, there is that. Moving on, this leads us into a backstage interview with Joe Hendry. He was interviewed by Kelly Kincaid. So, Joe Hendry says that he won't let bruised ribs get in the way of what he wants. Joe Hendry came here to be NXT champion, and he's frustrated he hasn't won it yet. He wants to win a championship. Okay, that's fine. So the Elegance brand, they defeated Sol Ruca and Zaria. This is good. So I think the reason that they retained is obviously they're going to do something on the TNA side of things. They don't really have any legit tag team champions over there either as an actual team, right? But I don't know, man. This is fun, I guess, for what it's worth. The Elegance brand, they got a little reaction, not much. Dana Brooke got involved, and that's how they got the win, so that's fine. Moving on, this leads us into Ethan Page. He is backstage. He rolls up on the Vanity Project. He tells them that if they listen to him, unlike Miles Bourne, they'll come out on top. And then he gives some advice to Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes on how to take care of Hank and Tank next week. And he cautions Jackson Drake not to rush into anything in the main event. Okay, that's fine. Cool there. Moving on. This leads us into a brawl between Jaida Parker and Mariah May. So this happened before the show came on the air, which is cool. I do like that. And apparently they're going to have their match next week. That's fine. But again, what are they fighting over? Really? Like, what are they fighting over? Right? And I would assume Jaida Parker should win the first match. Because I do think that they probably are going to position Mariah May to probably be the next one in line to go after JC Jane. Well, not go after JC Jane, but JC Jane has to lose to a babyface. I don't know who that could be. But it seems like they're going to keep the title on her for a little bit longer, I guess. I don't know. But they've got to position Mariah May in that main event spot, right? She needs to be there. I think it's time for JC Jane and Fallon Henley to bump in the main roster. And they'll probably end up doing that probably the NXT after WrestleMania, after, Stand and Deliver. So, yeah. Moving on from that, this leads us into the tag team match. So Stax and Lexis King, they defeated Chase U, Kel Dixon, Uriah Connors, and then post-match, Uriah Connors just joins the faction. So I do like that. That's pretty cool there. Moving on from that, this leads us into JC Jane, Fallon Henley, Better Influence. JC Jane's complaining about her Royal Rumble run, and she takes an aim at Sol Ruca for tossing her out. JC Jane says that she's carried the division all year, all of last year, and promised to be the one to end Sol Ruca's hype. So Zaria shows up. She's pissed off, saying that she didn't need Sol Ruca's spotlight and was coming for JC Jane's title herself. So Kendall Gray showed up along with her friend Sinclair. Basically, they all began to argue. So Sol Ruca showed up. She joined them and asking Zaria where they stood, pointing out everyone wanted the same thing. And then Robert Stone showed up. Then he booked Zaria and Sol Ruca versus Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray. The winner of that, whoever scores the pin, is going to be the new number one contender. Okay, that's fine there, I guess. Moving on from that. So Kelly Kinane, she had a backstage interview with Kelani Jordan to ask her why she attacked Lola Vice. And Kelani said that Lola Vice won't be knocking anyone out. How can she do that with a broken hand? So then Charlie Dempsey and Ren Sinclair, they all cross paths. So then Lexis King and his crew, they show up. And Lexis King asked Charlie Dempsey if he's thought about his proposal yet. And I do think that he'll probably end up joining them, which would make the most sense. And I'm fine with this faction because hopefully this thing can hit a home fucking run, hopefully. I think it will. Because this should be successful. And I do think you need a strong leader. And even though I'm not a fan of David Finlay all that much, I do think that it does fit him, right? Not just because he's gonna be working with his little brother, but this does give him a chance to have a decent faction by his side, right? And I think they're gonna continue this, and ultimately they wouldn't be doing this if they weren't going to bring in David Finlay, right? If they're not going to bring in David Finlay, then what is this for? Because Lexis King is not a leader. Neither is Charlie Dempsey. Neither is Stax. And neither is Uriah Connors. So there has to be someone above them all who can, lead them to what they want this faction to do and what they want this faction to be. And I think David Finlay would be the guy for that, right? So I'm interested in seeing where they're going with this. Throughout the night, all the guys in the ladder match basically just talked about how they were going to win the title and everything else. That's all they said. Main event of the evening, this leads us into Joe Hendry. He wins the 7-man ladder match. He is the new NXT champion. This match was fun as shit. It was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's this one part in the match where the ladder broke in half, and Charlotte Hill started to use it as stilts, which was fucking insane. The crowd popped, holy shit. Now I did the same thing. I was like, what the fuck? Holy shit. It's insane. That was insane. Keanu Carver was a damn beast in this match, especially towards the end. He started just kicking ass and taking names and sprinting everybody through barricades and all that shit. The finish came down to when Ricky Saints and Joe Hendry, they were trading punches back and forth, trying to retrieve the title. Joe Hendry used the title belt. Ricky Saints crashed and burned through the ladder, and Joe Hendry retrieved the title, and Joe Hendry is now the new NXT champion. And I must say, this is the right decision here, right? Because you need a babyface champion, and Joe Hendry is that guy. Ricky Saints and him can have a feud. We all know that they're probably going to also push Keanu Carver, but he just got there. He's new. I mean, even though he's not new, but he's new to this audience. He's not new to me, but he's new to this audience. We haven't seen him in a while. But, you know, I think he'll eventually be champion in due time as well. But you can kind of feud Ricky and Joe Hendry over the title for a while, right? Because I think Ricky will probably end up getting called up to the main roster after Stand and Deliver. So we could see Ricky on the main roster there. We all knew that Shiloh Hill and Sean Legacy and Jackson Drake and those guys are just too new and they're not even ready yet. They just got there. So they're not ready. So you couldn't put the belt on those guys. So you really only had three options. Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, and if you wanted to throw a wild card in it, Keanu Carver. But they went with Joe Hendry, which is fine. And this makes perfect sense. I like this. This is interesting. Really good stuff here. So, good shit. I mean, them having a ladder match on television is great. It was insane. It was fun. Hopefully, this will do well in the ratings, which it probably will. So, you know, there is that. Everything else on the show I liked. I like what they're doing with this second generation faction. I do like that. And clearly, we're probably going to eventually see David Finlay at some point show up. So I'm down with that. I'm also digging what they're doing with Lola Vice and Kelani Jordan. I like that. I like what they're doing with Jaida Parker and Mariah May. And then I also like what they're doing with Sol Ruca and Zaria, right? So I do think they're probably going to end up having Zaria turn on Sol Ruca next week. I think they're going to go ahead and pull that trigger. We could easily run back Kendall Gray and JC Jane and do that. And to where Kendall Gray is the one that sends JC Jane packing from NXT. Because again, I think it's time for JC Jane and Fallon Henley both to be on the main roster. You can find or create some type of faction for Laney Reed to kind of lead going forward once the other parts of Fatal Influence are caught up to the main roster, right? Because you could put Fatal Influence in the tag division, right? If you're really going to bolster that division. So, you know, there is that. But all in all, this was a pretty decent show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The ladder match was insane. Good shit there. Congrats to Joe Hendry. I like where this is going. Again, we could clearly do a feud between Ricky Saints and Joe Hendry for a while. And then when you continue to build up Keanu Carver, maybe he's the one that sends Joe Hendry packing to the main roster. Maybe. Don't know. We have to wait and see how it all plays out. Booker T was a fool on commentary, especially when Joe Hendry won the match and before, when him singing his theme song off key, which was hilarious. But yeah, NXT was pretty solid. But what did you guys think? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.